Hi. Today is the day after the end of the ICCAT Conference of Parties, the ICCAT Commission meeting. ICCAT being the Atlantic Tuna RFMO, the International Commission for the Conservation of Atlantic Tunas and tuna-like species, which is what brings the Shark Trust here as part of the Shark League Coalition with our colleagues from Shark Advocates International and Ecology Action Centre. It's a long meeting. It goes on for over 8 days straight, working straight through, and a lot of the excitement, a lot of the potential outcomes don't occur till the very last session of the very last day, so it can be tense from the beginning. But we've had a phenomenal meeting, we've had a frustrating meeting. It's certainly been a roller coaster. So what were we here for? What was on our slate? We had proposals that we had encouraged parties to bring to the table last year for the manta immobiles, the devil rays, and whale sharks, to secure prohibitions for them throughout the Atlantic region. And this is in line with what we have secured in other RFMOs in the Indian Ocean and in the Pacific Ocean. And last year those proposals were adopted, but subject to the scientists, the ICCAT scientists, saying yes, these are species of the highest conservation concern. And through the year we were working on ensuring that information was delivered to ICCAT and was accepted by the Standing Committee on Research and Statistics. That's the scientific body of ICCAT. And those proposals were then brought back to the table, back to the meeting here for adoption. And a few little tweaks here and there, but yes, we now have secured, and this is fantastic news, we have now secured prohibitions on the retention of all of the devil rays and the whale sharks in the Atlantic. So that's a really big win, and thank you to everybody who supported that. So we were also looking at issues to do with blue shark and their ongoing management. You know, this is a species caught in vast numbers throughout these fisheries, and various other aspects to do with the shark and ray conservation throughout this region. But one of our showcase pieces for this meeting, and in fact it's something we've been working on for many years, it's been a proposal brought to the table here at ICCAT for 16 years now, is that move to see sharks landed with their fins naturally attached, where a shark still has that fin on its carcass when it's landed into the first port of landing. And this is important for so many reasons. It's a really fundamental aspect of shark fisheries management. If you land a shark with its fins naturally attached, clearly shark finning hasn't occurred, which is a very important piece of this regulation. ICCAT does have a regulation banning shark finning as a practice, but it's hard to enforce, a fin to carcass ratio, which is hard to enforce. So fins naturally attached simplifies things. It's easy for enforcement officers around the world to see that vessels maybe from a different country are abiding by fins naturally attached and not finning sharks. It's easier to identify species and then have better data to go into that fisheries management process. And it's simple. Many countries struggle to enforce fin to carcass ratio, whereas a simple fins naturally attached policy would be far easier for their officers to address. So what did we do this year that was different if we've already tried 15 years in a row? Well, we had an event on the second night of the meeting where we brought together senior figures from governments who already deliver a very effective fins naturally attached policies for their fleets. We had representation for small-scale fleets from countries like Belize and the large-scale fleets from the EU, with a member of the Spanish ministry talking in great detail about how Spain have adapted their practices to process frozen shark carcasses effectively, managing to deliver fins naturally attached as a policy. And the event was incredibly well attended, really well received, and brought the issue of fins naturally attached right back to that fundamental of fisheries management. It's not just something that us NGOs would like to see, it's something that the parties of ICCAT would very much like to see. And through this week we secured overwhelming support. We had over 42 co-sponsors on a proposal. This is unprecedented, and to see that level of support was, it provided such a momentum to this proposal. we got to the very last day, the proposal was still open. We knew we had opposition from, in this instance, ongoing opposition from Japan and China on this point. But we had that support. We had such strong messages coming from the floor. We had new co-sponsors in the form of Korea, the Philippines, Iceland and Costa Rica. And all of this momentum we hoped would take this proposal over the line at long last and mirror what's happening in other RFMOs and regional fisheries bodies in other areas of the world. We got to the last session of the last day, and during that session, in fact just prior to that session, one of the countries called for a vote. Now, voting is not something that really happens that often. It's something that can happen, but it's not something that happens that often here in RFMOs, and here particularly in ICCAT. And that caused some consternation within parties, particularly with Japan calling a point of order that it's not possible to vote on species like sharks, which are still in the process of being ratified into the convention text. The long and the short of this is that by the end of the day, sadly, the vote wasn't called. Sadly, the proposal didn't go through this year. And whilst that is phenomenally frustrating, what we must take from this, what we should take from this, is the knowledge that that level of support comes from the ICCAT parties for what is best practice, widely recognised as best practice, and that we will continue to persist. It may be 20 years since ICCAT adopted a fin to carcass ratio and 16 years that we've been trying to secure fins naturally attached, but we now have support from all bar 2 parties, and that is a remarkable position to have reached. And here I've got to again send immense thanks out to the Big Shark Pledge community, because your support enabled us to campaign on this issue this year and to bring such a high profile to this through the event that we held here at ICCAT, through the materials, through our capacity to approach parties. So thank you. You are making difference. You are giving us an ability to get traction in a level that we never had before. So although this meeting is frustrating that we didn't manage to achieve that, we have progressed for sharks in the Atlantic. We have secured protection for those devil rays and whale sharks, and we continue to profile the need for improvements for the blue sharks, these target fisheries for blue sharks, the makos, and we managed to secure proposals in the future, the intent for proposals in the future for basking sharks, white sharks, with good reference to threshers and longfin makos as well. So although I would love to be telling you that we got fins naturally attached, we should focus on what we have managed to achieve and just regroup and regalvanise ourselves on fins naturally attached for next time. Thank you very much.